What's up, Trainiacs? It is coming to the end of 2018, so we've come up with a series of my favorites, the highlights of the year, and today we are going to get into my favorite 10 videos from 2018. And it's not just race videos, there are a lot of other good ones, actually 7 non-race videos. Let's do it. So what's up, Trainiacs? As I start looking back on 2018, I start thinking about what were the good videos? What were the bad videos? What was the stuff that you seemed to like and that I had the most fun doing? Well, all the ducks, the easy ones, and let's get them right off the table, right out of the way. It's always the race videos. The race videos always stand out as the most motivating triathlon videos that we do over the course of a year. So let's just rattle them off, and just so you know, links to all of these videos will be in the description below. Half Ironman Coeur, super fun. NTK, that was the first big Ironman event that she came and shot, and it was fantastic. We sent the footage back to Mel. She did a phenomenal job of putting that together. Then both the women's and the men's Half Ironman World Championships, those ones were super cool because it was it's a world event and I was taking part in it. That was awesome. And then as always, Ironman Kona. That's just such an awesome day. And looking back and remembering the day and having that video to remember all the record-setting performances that were done that day, that one is super motivating. So I've actually created a triathlon motivation playlist with a bunch of our race day videos in there. Oh, and special shout out to Half Ironman Boulder, which somebody put together all on his own. And I'll link to that playlist at the end of the video here. So now that those are out of the way, let's get to the ones that you might not expect and you might have missed over the course of 2018. And the first one is one of the days from the training camp of the pro Purple Patch athletes when we went and hung out with them for a couple days in Scottsdale. And Mel did a fantastic job of editing that video, super inspiring, really motivational, but at the same time, it also reminds me of how deep those pros can dig and how after we stopped filming all of those pros training, I was like, I gotta go run. And I think I ran a sub 20-minute 5K just for training. They killed it. It was so much fun to watch, so cool to be a part of, and we got the video to share. Next one, well, I was also down in San Francisco going to the Finis headquarters and trying the endless pool. That was, I don't know what about it, but so many people were incredibly interested in the endless pool. Within about 3 strokes, I was like, oh dear God, is that what my swim stroke looks like? My hands are like, hello, we're going way over there, and I'm dropping my elbow, and I'm going like that. Instantly, you start working on swim technique, and you can start piecing together oh, this is what I've been hearing from swim coaches and friends all this time. That's what it looks like. Oh, well, how do I start fixing it? So remembering how much fun that was to actually do, and then seeing how all of you liked it, and I was like, this is kind of self-serving, just putting a video out there about trying the endless pool, but seeing that all of you dug it, cool. I actually have in mind potentially an endless pool right there. 14 by 17 feet. Won't take up any space at all. Next video that I really liked doing was the fast mimicking diet. I did not like fasting for 5 days, but in the same sense, I sort of did what I've always done in whatever career or volunteer capacity I did was I always analyzed things, and going through that 5-day fast mimicking diet and charting a whole bunch of markers, tracking it, taking note of my experience, and then actually seeing that, holy smokes, there is a diet out here that is supposedly very healthy, that I lost 10 pounds in a matter of 5 days and still felt good throughout it, and then managed to keep that weight off because I've been somebody that has always had a really hard time losing that last little bit of weight. I look back on that and I'm like, that was a really interesting test to do. And it has sparked my imagination to start testing things like the Oura Ring, sleep improvement protocol, the ketogenic diet for endurance training, HRV training, and going through a similar like half-baked scientific process is a lot of fun because it reminds me of all that analytical work that I've done traditionally day to day. Now I'm doing that in a video. The next video that I really look back fondly on is a video that first I went and did a killer tempo run. That was super fun just because NTK was out there playing tunes for me and handing me water and doing some shooting. So it was just nice to have somebody, like it's called running SAG. It's like the support crew for you while you're doing a workout. So that was really cool. And then just immediately after finishing that workout, we went to Mel's wedding and just super, really very happy for Mel. And it was like 3 clips from an iPhone that I took, but I looked back on that for a couple of weeks after and I'm like, that's really nice. I'm just very happy for her and her hubby. So that was a very nice video. Another video that actually didn't get a ton of views and the podcast didn't get a ton of downloads, but I think that it's one of the most motivating things that we've done all year. And that was just a little clip that we took out of a podcast that we did with Mike Riley when I asked him to send a message to the people that weren't sure if they're able to do an Ironman out there and what would he say to them. And for 3.5 minutes, unscripted, unprepared, he said one of the most motivating things that I've ever heard from anyone about why every single person out there can and should do an Ironman and how it's gonna feel when you cross that finish line. I've never heard anything like that from Mike. He's always had a gift for the gab, and he is Mike Riley. He is the voice of Ironman. But to hear how he put that just off the top of his head, I'm like, that is why this sport changes lives. So thanks, Mike. Everyone should go take a look at that. Next, the video that I did analyzing Lionel Sanders' performance in Kona. Again, that one I really, really like because it was very analytical and I tried to think outside the box. Not just he had a poor swim, he had a poor bike, he had a poor run. I had to, it was kind of like thinking about, I have to put myself in the position of what Lionel was going through, what I knew about all the entire buildup that he had done up to that point, and then also start looking at it as like, if I was in that situation, what would I do? And knowing what I know, like being an Ironman certified coach, but more so like what I know about triathlon, like how do I piece this all together? And it was just a really interesting process. And in a lot of cases, whenever I cover Lionel, because his fans are so passionate, I get a lot of hatred, but I got a lot of hatred. And at the same time, I got a lot of people that were like, that was really good, because we needed to hear that it's not just, oh, I had a crappy swim, a crappy bike. Oh, Lionel Sanders, he went vegan, that's why. I tried to add more to that, and it felt like journalism in a sense. I say that as I'm wearing socks with sandals. And then finally, the last video, and this was the most absolutely heartwarming, and this was like a life-changing thing because I had no idea that I had the support of all of you to this extent. But when I did that video, basically just coming clean about all of the difficulties that we were having with the original Team Trainiac developer, and I thought that maybe what I was expecting was like, all right, maybe the people that backed us on Kickstarter are going to be supportive and just say, all right, Taren, we'll be patient. But the outpouring of upwards of, I think we counted 700 messages from people saying how sorry they felt from us, how much they wanted to support us, people willing to support us financially, people willing to take part and do copywriting. Thank you, Alex, who's helping with that. A new Trainiac who's coming and helping develop the plan. Like, I was just hoping for like buying myself a little bit of runway, to be perfectly honest with you, and a little bit of time. But Kim and I were extremely touched. And that is why it's so important for us to continue to develop this community of Trainiacs and grow this from something more than me just talking to a camera for a few minutes every single day, but actually having a platform and a team and a community where we can interact and we can motivate and train with each other. And that is something that has been a life-changing thing from this year that I owe you all a big thank you for. So that, I think, hands down, favorite video of the year, favorite occurrence from a video. So thank you very much. Thank you for a great 2018. We have big plans in mind for 2019, and that's actually going to be the next video, what my goals are for 2019. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you stay tuned for that. Thank you for a great year. 2019 is going to be even better. Later, Trainiacs.